From the very beginning of human history, people have offered sacrifices to God. Adam and Eve's sons, Cain and Abel, brought gifts to God. Abel offered sheep, while Cain offered crops from the ground. Because they did not know the true God, ancient peoples like the Greeks and Egyptians sometimes offered human sacrifices. The Canaanites even burned people alive as offerings to their idol, Moloch. Sadly, some pagan groups still do this today. This shows how badly things can go wrong when people do not know the true God. God gave Moses very specific directions about how sacrifices should be offered. See Leviticus chapters 1 to 7, 16, and 22. Among the Jews, the high priest offered a daily sacrifice of incense, flour, oil, and frankincense. He also offered an animal sacrifice, usually a lamb, along with food and drink. On the Sabbath, 2 lambs plus bread and wine were offered. On certain major feast days, the Jews sacrificed hundreds of animals in very solemn ceremonies. Their main feasts were A. Passover, remembering their escape from Egypt. B. Pentecost, remembering when God gave them the law on Mount Sinai. C. The Feast of Tabernacles, remembering their time wandering in the desert. And D. The Day of Atonement, when the priest offered a sacrifice for his own sins and the sins of the people. All these sacrifices pointed forward to Jesus Christ's sacrifice. The Jews had different levels of priests: the high priest, the priests, and the Levites. These different ranks were a preview of the different orders of clergy that Jesus would later establish in his church. The people respected their priests and cared for them through offerings. The sacrifices of the Jewish people were only symbols of the real sacrifice, Jesus' sacrifice on the cross. When Jesus brought the new law, the old sacrifices ended. In the new law, the true sacrifice is Christ himself. He is both the high priest and the offering. As St. Paul said, it is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins. Hebrews chapter 10 verse 4. A sacrifice is something offered by a priest to God alone, and it must be destroyed or changed in some way. This shows that God is the creator and Lord of everything. People offer sacrifices to God to show that he has power over all things and to thank him for his gifts, especially life itself. The desire to sacrifice is natural for humans. Because we were made for God, our hearts naturally rise toward him, like a balloon rising into the air unless it is tied down. God gave us life and an immortal soul. Without these, we would not exist at all. We couldn't think, act, or even know God. Because life and the soul are our greatest gifts, we owe God deep gratitude. We must repay God for his gifts, especially for giving us life. But since life is priceless, we can never pay him back fully. It's like getting a $5,000 diamond ring and offering only 2 cents in return. The difference is far smaller than the gap between God's gifts and anything we can give him. Still, we offer what we can. This is what sacrifice means. From earliest times, people have shown their belief in God by offering sacrifices. They would give something and then destroy it, usually by burning it. This outward act showed an inner desire to give themselves completely to God. We also use the word sacrifice in everyday life. A mother sacrifices for her children, or a soldier sacrifices for his country. This means giving up something important, like time, comfort, or even life, for someone else. In the same way, a sacrifice to God means giving something up because we love him. Only God deserves true sacrifice, because destroying or giving up something as a holy act is a form of worship. Since ancient times, people have asked priests, those set apart to serve God, to offer sacrifices on their behalf, acting as a link between God and humanity. In regular life, we show love or respect by giving gifts, like Christmas or birthday presents. These are called sacrifices, only in a loose sense. A real sacrifice to God must involve offering and destroying something as a sign of His greatness. The purposes of sacrifice are to honor God, thank Him, ask Him for something, or make up for sin. These purposes can be summed up as adoration, thanksgiving, petition, and atonement. It is natural for people to express outwardly what they feel inside: praise, gratitude, need, or sorrow for sin. Sacrifices can be either bloody or unbloody. A sacrifice that uses a living animal, like an ox, lamb, or dove, is a bloody sacrifice. A sacrifice using food, like fruit, wine, or grain, is unbloody. Among the Jews, animals were killed, their blood poured on the altar, and the meat burned or eaten by the priests. Food offerings were also burned or eaten, and wine was poured out on the altar. People who worshipped idols sometimes offered human sacrifices. The king of Moab even sacrificed his own son when he wanted help against Israel. 4 Kings chapter 3 verse 27. Saint Paul explains what the Gentiles sacrifice. They sacrifice to devils and not to God. 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 20.